Snow, what snow? Argyle are so hot right now that the freezing temperatures can't even stop them. Barnsley will be hoping they can in another thrilling encounter in Sky Bet League One. Well, they don't get much bigger than today, that is for sure. The snow has melted, the game is on, and we are set for another huge game in Argyle's quest for promotion, this time up in Yorkshire, taking on one of the in-form sides in the league, that is Barnsley. They've won 7 of their last 9 matches, form that's led Michael Duff, their manager, to be named Sky Bet League One Manager of the Month for February. And, well, we're going to have to be on our own game, that is for sure, to get past Barnsley, who 11 points behind, but they are chasing and have eyes on the top 2 themselves as well. Between now and kickoff, we've got a lot to cram in. We'll be hearing from Stephen Schumacher on his thoughts of taking on another huge side in Sky Bet League One. We'll talk a little bit of Michael Cooper with the news he signed his new deal in the week. And, of course, we'll bring you all the team news as well. Helping me through it, former Argyle Academy coach Aaron Cusack. They don't get bigger than this, do they, really?
No, they don't. Good afternoon, Charlie. Real test of character, resolve, you know. People will look across the course of a season and look at pivotal moments, and I think today is one of those pivotal moments that they could potentially look back and say maybe this was the main catalyst for the promotion push.
There's been quite a few pivotal moments. One of them was Tuesday night, and playing these sort of matches is not something that Argyle are shying away from. They came from behind against Derby County to pick up a valuable 3 points. Let's watch the best bits.
Harahan flicks it forward again. Wilson will bring it down on his chest and clear it into the Derby half. Hardy challenges with Cashin, back heels the ball. Azaz, chance for him to run at the defence, gets it onto his right foot. Azaz shoots just wide. Inches in it from Finn Azaz. Headed away, Barkhausen jumps, so we'll come to McGoldrick, and Mendes Lang is through on goal, and he's not going to be flagged offside. He looks to get past Callum Burton, and he'll put the visitors into the lead. Nathaniel Mendes Lang does it against Argyle again. Houghton loses out to Barkhausen in a battle in the air, and it might break here for Barkhausen again. It does. Mendes Lang on the right. Can he deliver? Into the middle. Free header! Goalwards, but saved. What a chance that was. Argyle have it on the edge of the Derby box. Joe Edwards, left-footed strike from him is dipping, but not quite enough. Wildsmith rooted. Arm play from him to find Lonvikanal Mumba, who has gone out to that right-hand side. Infield, Matete skips it past White, Azaz. There's space on the right-hand side. Callum Wright, acres of it. Right-footed shot, blocked. Yes! It's gone in! And Argyle have their equaliser. It loops over Wildsmith. And Callum Wright's the man to get it. Now Azaz, low ball into Mayer, edge of the box. Can he get into a shooting position? He can't. He's forced to turn. He'll come out to the left-hand side again. Azaz to Hardy, back to Azaz. Intricate football from Argyle. Down he goes. Penalty to Argyle. Or Hardy against Wildsmith, who is bouncing up and down on his goal line. All in yellow. Steps up, right-footed, sends Wildsmith the wrong way.
Good memories. Great night. That, wasn't it, Aaron? You spoke about pivotal moments a moment ago,
Yeah.
but that was one of them.
Very much so. And again, a great test of their characters to go a goal behind and then pick themselves up and go, okay, let's trust what we're good at doing. And, you know, it's a vital win because it potentially knocks Derby's chances of automatic. And it just keeps the springboard loaded and keeps them moving forward.
Yeah, it is actually so similar to today, isn't it? Derby, I think, were 10 points behind Argyle going into that game, knowing that if they were going to have possibilities of finishing in the top two, they needed to win. Barnsley are similar. They're 11 points behind. They do have a couple of games in hand, but realistically, with 11, 12 or 13 matches to go for them, time is running out, so they would have a similar sort of thought, you'd imagine.
Yeah, very much so. And I think it just goes to show the importance of the victories against the teams around them. Argyle, performed at the start of the year. And like you said, Barnsley have got to win near enough every game, and the games in hand are against Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday potentially. So if they win them, it means Wednesday and Ipswich don't win those points. So it's very much in Argyle's favour.
We'll have a little look at all of that in a moment, what Barnsley still have to do this season and how Argyle have done against these sort of sides. But we were just talking whilst we were watching them there, Ryan Hardy slotting another penalty. He's on fire at the moment. The song is being sung in the crowd, but he literally is. I think he scored in his last 5 home games, 9 in his last 13 matches in all competitions, hitting form at the perfect time.
That's what you need, and when you're in such confidence as well, you can't wait to play every moment and every minute and chase every ball and wait for those opportunities to shoot. I mean, I think he had a shot against Derby the other night where he just shifted it and hit, and it just bent towards the far post. And for me, that was an indication of someone full of confidence, ready to shoot from all types of angles, knowing that they believe they can score, and that's what you want going into the business end of the season.
Yeah, the other goal scorer, Callum Wright, a substitute. A lot's been made, especially in the last week or so, I think, in the wider media amongst fans. I know in the dressing room and within the management team it's been spoken about a lot. They're not even called substitutes in the squad. I think they're called either finishers or renders or something like that. But the 16th time a substitute scored for Argyle this season, which is the best in the entire Football League. Everybody is contributing.
And I don't think that's a coincidence. That's methodical. That's been purposely prepared. And, you've got to take your hat off to the coaching staff led by Stephen Schumacher about, okay, well, when your moment arrives, be ready. And these players are coming onto the field ready, not only physically, but mentally prepared as well. And that's really, really vital. It's not just the case of the coaching staff saying, be ready. It's the responsibility of the player to also be ready as well. So testament to everyone involved.
Well, let's have a look at the teams, shall we? We'll start with Argyle. And maybe eyes will be on who's on the bench rather than who's in the starting 11 today. There it is. 3 changes made from Tuesday's win to the starting 11. Sees Mikel Miller, Jay Matete, who made such a massive impact. He was named man of the match by the supporters. Just a 30-minute cameo. And Callum Wright coming into the side. Joe Edwards, Jordan Houghton, Danny Mayer missing out, dropping to the bench. What are your initial thoughts on the side?
Well, I mean, again, it's replacements like for like. They're all capable, and we don't know whether they'll start as a back 3. I mean, it helped that they went to a back 4 the other night and went with kind of 3 number 10s because that pressed Derby back. So I think they'll go a back 3 with perhaps Miller and Mumba, holding in wide areas and hugging the flanks. And so therefore, the responsibility falls with Matete to kind of link the play and Finizaz and Callum Wright to get close enough together to support Hardy at the top, the top end of the pitch.
Yeah, on Jay Matete, one of the changes, he has not started the last couple of matches. He made such an incredibly positive impact when he joined, but you saw again just his immense quality when he came on against Derby on Tuesday night.
I think what he did really well is he increased the intensity of the way the ball was being moved. Less touches, give and go, get it forward, play up through the lines. I thought, Derby started to tire. They've got a couple of aging players in their team, and I think that was vital. And maybe that was a great time to introduce Matete to the game, to get him up the pitch, get the ball up the pitch, play through kind of those pockets, and it led to the 2 goals in particular being created.
And on the finishers, or substitutes, Ennis and Wayne, you got Danny Mayer, you got Joe Edwards, you got Jordan Houghton. They'll know that they'll have to be ready to make an impact because they'll be called upon at some stage.
And I think those names in particular, it's the variety on the attributes that they each bring. They've all got different super strengths, you want to call them that. So it's not just a case of, well, actually, who knows, in an hour or two's time, we might be a couple of goals ahead and we need to kind of become a little bit more assured at the back. So therefore, we put people in front of the back line. We might be chasing a goal, so you've got that option. So it's the variety that it brings that gives Schumacher so many options to choose from.
Well, let's have a look at the Barnsley side. They also actually have been credited of having a pretty big squad at the moment. They've got players coming back from injury. Here's their side. They've gone unchanged, rather unsurprisingly, considering their form that they're in from their 3-1 win against Portsmouth on Tuesday night. Eyes are immediately drawn to their forward line. They're scoring goals. James Norwood and Devante Cole both, have been scoring pretty regularly in the last month or so. They are a side that just seem to have power everywhere at the minute, don't they?
I think they're a very, very dangerous side. I think across their midfield 5 in particular, if it is Jordan Williams and Herbie Kane and Nicky Cadden and as Adam Phillips, Luca Connolly, they've all contributed not only goals but assists. So I think between them and James Norwood and Devante Cole, I think they've scored 30-odd goals, 36 goals between them, been involved in 28 assists, and it's all been shared around. So
it is a bit like
yeah,
Argyle,
very much so. And I think if you go head-to-head today in terms of the spread, I think in terms of individual contributions, you could argue that Barnsley are edging it in terms of, when you have the spread of players involved. So it'll be interesting to see how it kind of pans out naturally.
You mentioned Adam Phillips in there. He's on a fine run himself. I think he's got 3 in his last 5 games. He's got 3 assists in that time as well, as you were mentioning, and a couple of them absolute beauties. He's one that you don't want to give time and space to just outside the box.
Absolutely not. And I think the last 5-6 games that Barnsley have played, they've scored 16 goals, of which 9 of them have come from outside the box. Yeah. So when the invitation is there, they are pulling the trigger. So therefore, Argyle have got to make sure they shut down those spaces quickly and early. And of those 2 goals, or another 2 goals within those 16s, have been from follow-ups from long shots. So, the stage is set for, if you're within range, they're shooting.
We don't want to scare you too much, but they are clearly a very good side. Their form points out to that. I mentioned Michael Duff's just been named the manager of the month for February. 4 straight home wins. They've got 9 home wins in the last 10 league matches. Only Bolton have beaten them, and there was a red card in that game. That's the sort of task that Argyle are up against. But having said that, those runs cannot go on forever. Like we've seen at Home Park this season, we did lose on the 10th game against Port Vale. Have they peaked a little bit too soon?
Well, we don't know. I mean, let's find out a bit later. And I think that's what the best players want to play in the biggest games. And this is a massive game this afternoon. And let's see what Argyle are made of. Can they, withstand the pressure from Barnsley? I think, it's no coincidence, I think, why they've got the game on, because they're in such good form that they're going to want to take that advantage or use that advantage as best they can. But in the same token, Argyle want to demonstrate their capabilities of this challenge.
Just whilst we're on Barnsley, mentioned that their form might not continue. You've already alluded to this fact, looking at the next 4 fixtures for them after today. So there's Argyle today, away to Wickham next weekend, then a huge week, Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich at home, within the next 7 days before travelling down to Exeter, who ironically actually beat one of the sides that have beaten Barnsley at Oakwell this season. If they do manage to get maximum points from those games, and they will be probably favourites for automatic promotion, but it is a really tough run.
Yeah, it's a very tough run, and I think this is a bit of a catch-22 for Plymouth, because if Barnsley were fortunate to win the next 5 games, it means that Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich would drop points. So that's where Argyle could then recapitalise. So whilst we don't want to play and look at it from a negative standpoint, the early points against the bigger clubs earlier on in the season is now perhaps coming to fruition. So it's a really interesting dynamic that the next month is going to showcase.
It is. I mean, we've only got, I think it's 8 weeks left of the season, and we'll be having these conversations every single week, I think, about different permutations or what have you. Let's hear from the Argyle manager then. This time last week, all the talk was about how Argyle were going to react to a loss against Peterborough United away from home. React, they did. Now Stephen Schumacher is focusing on trying to continue momentum going forward.
We got that reaction that we needed after the Peterborough defeat. So, yeah, we spoke to the players about that, as I mentioned, and we highlighted it and said, come on, we need to do better, and we have done better the last 2 games. I think we've played really well. Not been perfect for the whole 90 minutes in both games, but we've done enough to get 6 points, and that was all that was important. So it goes into Saturday now in good confidence. If we get a result at Barnsley, it's a great result. If we get 3 points at Barnsley, then it's been an amazing, punishing week.
This is a type of time of the season, isn't it, where momentum can really carry you, can really push you through?
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams who have, Barnsley, one of them teams who are in good form at the moment and seem to have momentum. We would like to get on a run, but we also know that we've got 11 league games to go, and we know sort of how many wins we're going to need. So how they come, we don't really care. If we win 5 on the spin, brilliant. If we win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1, as long as we get the points that we require, then I'm sure that's all the teams will be thinking that. They'll have a points target and a tally that they'll feel that they need to get to, and I'm sure every one of them will be doing the best to get to it.
Let's talk about Barnsley then. You mentioned the form they're in. I think they are the in-form team in the league. But what do you make of them? Why are they hitting their straps right now so well?
So it seems to me that they've got a settled team. Like, it's pretty much the same team all the time. They've got some really good players who, as you would expect under Michael Duff now, are really well organised. When we played them first game of the season here, he hadn't been long in the job, so that took him a bit of time to figure out what system he was going to play, I'm guessing, and what the players could do. But now they're rolling. They've won 7 out of 9. The 2 front players look as though they've come alive, and they're always a threat. They've got 3 midfield players that are very creative for this division, and score goals as well. So, and they've got a settled back line, so it's got all the makings of a good team. They look really fit and well and strong, and they're going to have to play really well to get a result there. I watched them a few weeks ago against Derby. Well, I watched them this week when they played Derby, and they beat Derby 4-1, and we know how tough a game that was on Tuesday night. So, yeah, it's going to be hard.
Does it, speaking of punishing weeks, does it make it kind of better, easier, I don't know, knowing that these are, massive games against sides that are challenging for the same thing, and once we've got 2 in a row, so there's no time to even think about anything else other than these massive matches? Yeah,
it makes preparation a little bit easier. You're not overthinking things, and you're going from one game straight into the next. So we've had to recover on Wednesday. There was a group today who recovered and a group that trained, and then straight away you're into another huge game. But the players understand that, how important the games are. They understand that they're against teams who are in the top 6 and they're rivals, so they know they're going to have to perform, which is brilliant. And as a player, that's what I would have liked, just going into these big games, and I'm sure our players are feeling the same. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. It'll be, say, a tough challenge, but I think it's one that we're ready for.
They do just keep stepping up to the plate, don't they, this side at the moment?
Yeah, they do, and it demonstrates their ability to take every game as it comes and play the occasion and play the game and the opponents in front of them, and show adaptability when it's needed. And we've spoken at the top of the show about that, their ability to vary things, change things, and get a similar outcome, which has been really, really positive to see.
Well, today is the last time that Argyle will have to play against a side that's in the top 6 currently. Their record, as we're going to see now, is incredible against the top 6 sides. Beaten everybody at home. Derby was the last one of that on Tuesday night. Picked up 20 points from a possible 27, I think it is. Just the one loss. Today's the final time to do it. And, you know, this is what successful promotion-winning, championship-winning sides, that's the difference quite often, isn't it, between a side that finishes first or second or finishes third or fourth.
Yeah.
It's how you do against your main competitors.
Absolutely. And if you look at those scores there, other than the Bolton game and the draws, they're all by 1 goal. So that the difference is the odd goal, and that's the difference between perhaps 1 point and another 2 on top of it. So, you know, I fully expect a similar type of game today. It's going to be a tight game. And therefore, I think it's in Barnsley's interest to really go at Argyle because they need to win it, I think, more than Argyle do. So let's see. You know, I'd like to think that Argyle come out today and are a little bit more cautious than they were 2 weeks ago at Peterborough. And maybe they can use those experiences to, you know, show their resolve here today.
In 4 of those matches as well, they've come from behind to pick up points. Ipswich at home, Derby home and away, Ipswich away. Shows a little bit of steely resilience, ability to not get kind of too down, especially in what you know, they've all been pressured games.
And going a goal behind doesn't seem to hinder them, or hasn't at this juncture. So, you know, again, if you're going to win things over the course of a long period, which a football season is many months, you need to win it in different ways, and they've shown that variety over the course of the campaign so far, and that's what you need. And you need to pull on different personnel to get you those points, and I think that's what's been really positive so far this season, is the number of people that have contributed, both defensively and in attacking positions as well.
Well, we'll continue our build-up to Argyle's trip to Oakwell in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. You can still buy those chocolate bars. They are still on sale. Right. The other big news that came out this week, apart from Argyle's win over Derby County, was that Michael Cooper signed a new contract at Home Park until the summer of 2025. It was greeted, actually, with almost the same amount of joy as that win over Derby the day before. The 23-year-old has been at the club since a 9-year-old, some of that time under the stewardship of this man to my left. And despite his injury, he knew that it was a no-brainer, really, to sign an extension to stay part of the Greens.
Obviously, very happy. You know, putting another year onto my current contract after the stuff that's happened in the past few weeks. No, it means a lot to me. And yeah, I was just really happy to, you know, get it done so quickly after be it, the actual contract getting offered. So no, I'm really happy. It just means a lot, obviously. I joined in 2009. 2023 now, so I think that length of time just speaks volumes. And obviously, the love I got for the place, the fans, the staff. There's so many people that have been there for me throughout the years, all the way from under 9s till now. It's just been a mad journey so far, and to extend my contract again, it's a really nice feeling. I'm just really looking forward to getting out on the pitch again in front of the fans. Never had to go on loan. Never been out of contract at this club. The club have been out since I was 9. So to keep being offered, these extensions and being the opportunities that I'm in, I've never taken it for granted, and I've always been very appreciative of the positions I've been in. So I can't believe where I'm at now, and I'm just looking forward to the future now as well.
Folks is there across Matty, what a save from Cooper. Folks goalwards again, and Cooper's across and recovered and will drop on the attack for Vernham down the left-hand side. Gets into the penalty area. Oh, it's a great save from Cooper. It's
different to the other ones in the sense that, I've been put in a little bit of a different position, obviously with my knee, and it just gives me a lot more security and a lot more, having the ability to focus on my rehab now for the next few months without having to worry about any sort of contracts or anything like that. So, I'm more than happy to get it done. It's 3 weeks since the operation, and I'm doing really well. I'm surprised at how much I've been able to do, really. I'm already on the bike, stepper, unfortunately on the ski-erg and the assault bike, so it's not nice, but no, it's nice to actually get the lungs going, get the do some upper body as well. So not long until I can really start progressing with getting some strength back in my leg, and just really starting to see the swelling go down in my knee, which is nice. I just got to take it week by week, really. I keep looking back every Monday to where I was, and the slight improvements I keep making is really nice to keep looking back on mentally. So I'm just taking everything week by week, and not pushing it, but making sure I'm progressing just at the right pace. So I'm quite happy.
You know him obviously incredibly well, Aaron. You must be chuffed for him and for the club, obviously, but it's big news. It's
massive news, and I think the timing was impeccable, really, because he's suffered a very serious injury. We don't know what type of effect that has on mentally with the players. Physically, we know about it, but the fact that the club have shown their support to him and see how much they value him, and like you said in the clip there about how much it meant to him, just showcases the two-way respect they have for each other.
I was speaking to him off camera on the day he signed, and the great sort of symmetry of it being 5 years to the day since he signed his first contract. But he was talking about the fact that when the injury happened, he was gutted clearly. And he kind of thought, well, will I still feel as sort of part of the team, especially if we get promoted, if we keep going? And he was saying that because he'd basically he had started every single league game for the 2.5 seasons, 121 games consecutively. But then he kind of wrote back and he was, well, I have played 30 games this season. And in those 30 games, he's made an unbelievable impact. And I don't think he ever needs to doubt that, does he? He's been such a humongous part of what has happened this season. And beyond.
Absolutely, Charlie. It was a great point, because I mentioned it 5 minutes ago about the contributions players have made both defensively and in attacking guys, and he's probably the top of the tree from a defensive capacity in terms of the number of saves that he's the number of points. I'd love to know the stat, the number of points he's potentially saved the club, the team this year through his individual performances, and he's very much and all the players will know. And the squad and everyone in the club know how much he's contributed this season and how much he's valued here, and may it long continue.
Yeah, and that's an important point as well, because it goes without saying that the ability that he has, the age that he is, that there will be suitors for him elsewhere. There no doubt will have been in the last couple of transfer windows. So from a club's perspective as well, if we're just looking at this from a pure taking care of yourself as much as anything else as a club, to have him tied down for an extra year on top of what he already had, which I think was 18 months left, is obviously a no-brainer, isn't it? To just kind of make sure that you do get what he is worth if someone were to come in and if that were to happen.
Yeah, I mean, without speaking, I don't know what's going through Coops' mind, but he's a long-term injury now, and it can be a very lonely place, and it just showcased that the club value him. They could easily, sadly, football clubs aren't run on sentiment; they're run on commodities and assets and things like that. So the club could easily be lining up others in the event that he doesn't make a full recovery. We all kind of know he will. So it just galvanises his belief in the club and the club's belief in him as a player, so that when he's ready again, he's ready to take centre stage. And
on that recovery, he mentioned it in the chat there, and actually he was speaking to a couple of people on Tuesday night, just down by the Argyle TV cameras, basically saying he's amazed at how quickly the recovery has already gone. 3 weeks since the surgery, a month and a bit since the injury. I mean, it's still a heck of a long way to go before he's totally fit, but you know him, we all kind of know him. He is a sort of person that will put the work in to make sure he is 100% back.
Yeah, without question, and I think he will, how do I phrase it, he will almost enjoy the rehab process because he now knows he's on the road to recovery. And I think we spoke a couple of days ago about, whilst no player would ever want to select being injured, if you have to choose a time, a high proportion of his rehab will take place during the off-season when everyone's kind of resting and getting ready for the new season anyway. So, that should feel like when he starts playing again, we'll feel that little bit closer in particular.
Right, well, we are getting closer to kick-off, just under half an hour away, actually, from the start of the game up at Oakwell. We'll continue our build-up to the game over the next couple of minutes, including hearing from the Barnsley manager, Michael Duff, in just a sec.
Can you pledge 35 hours for Project 35?
Pledge 35 hours for Project 35.
Pledge 35 hours for Project 35.
You're watching Argyle TV. Thanks a lot for joining us, building up to kick-off between Barnsley and Argyle, which is about 28 or so minutes away. A couple of predictions are coming in. I'm going to have to just look across the screen here, so apologies. Keep them coming in, actually. You can just comment on the YouTube video below if you are watching, or you can get in touch on social media at Argyle. There's some very positive ones here, Aaron. There always are. I mean, you never see anyone predicting a defeat on this, which is good to know.
Yes.
3-1 win for Argyle, says Steve G, which is a good one. Another Steve goes for a 2-0 win. We'd take that.
You would, yeah.
We'd
score
take
3
that.
at Barnsley would be a really impressive outcome. We've got to be positive and confident that they can get a result. Personally, I think if they can not lose the game, I think that's a real positive. If they, I'll take a point in particular, especially the form they're in, and it just keeps that distance the same. With the 2 games in hand, they're still kind of 11 clear then. So I would personally take a point, but let's see what happens.
Take a 3-1 though, wouldn't we? Absolutely would. Mentioning the form that Barnsley are in, the reverse fixture back in August was back in July actually was Michael Duff's first game in charge of the Tykes. He did so well at Cheltenham, getting them promoted for the first time to Sky Bet League One. The expectation though was to get Barnsley back to the Championship after relegation last season. They've had their ups and downs, but are now just hitting form at the perfect time and are flowing with confidence coming into this one.
You should probably record this answer for the next 3 or 4, because I imagine it's going to be the same question. So they're a good team, and they're up there through merit, and have been up there all season. This is not. They fell out of the playoffs on the last day of last season. So this has been 2 years in the making. This is not a flash in the pan. The first game that we played on the first day of the season, from my point of view, was actually a good game for us, because it gave some of our lads a reality check of the level of League One now. So whether they went down there consciously or subconsciously, whether they went down there and they wouldn't have known many of the players, They wouldn't have played at Plymouth, most of them. Well, none of them, I don't think, because it's been a long time since Plymouth have been at that level. And they thought, oh, well, we were in the Championship last year, well, it'll be easy. Went down there and they wiped the floor with us. We were quite happy to get away with it 1-0, to be honest. Talk about goalkeepers, Brad kept us in the game at that point. So, and then they've gone on and on and on. And we said to them after that game, they're a good team. And then you look at their home record since, and it's like they've almost proved us right. Hopefully we're a better team now than what we were then. I think we are. They've added since then as well. You look at the players they've brought in, people like Matete, Callum Wright, who I know well. I had him at Cheltenham. Finn Azaz has been brilliant for him. I had him at Cheltenham.
Must win if you want to stay in the top 6. Must win if you want to have a crack at the top 2.
Must win because it's the next game. It's again, we lose. It's not the end of the world. We've lost 2 games in 4 months. We lost 3 in a row. One of them was an FA Cup game, and it wasn't the end of the world. We didn't think we were a bad team. And will we win the next 4? I doubt it. Just because of the opposition that we've got. But we'll have every intentions and we'll plan properly. We'll need a little bit of luck, but they're a good team, and we're not looking at the top 6. We want to finish as high as we can. And it's a boring answer, but it's a point collecting exercise. The numbers on the left don't matter. The numbers on the right matter.
Michael Duff there talking about, as we were speaking about earlier, that little run of form that they've got after today. Sheffield Wednesday, Ipswich and Wickham, the next 3 after Argyle. So it's a testing period, but the form they're in, you never know. Let's get a quick reminder of the 2 sets of teams then, as we see the pictures from Oakwell. And actually, Aaron, looking at it, you could how was that game ever under any doubt that it was never going to be played? The pitch looks incredible.
Yeah, they've done a terrific job, haven't they, the ground staff, to get it ready. And I think it's the surrounding areas as well, Charlie, that they've had to get ready. So testament to everyone involved at the football club. And I think we may have spoken just off there, though, I think it's in their best interest to get the game on because of the form they're in. So, but naturally, Plymouth want the game on as well because they've had a brilliant response since the defeat 2 weeks ago.
Well, let's have a look at the Argyle side. 3 changes made to it from Tuesday night's win over Derby County. Joe Edwards comes out, replaced by Mikael Miller. Jay Matete in for Jordan Houghton. Callum Wright in for Danny Mayer. Be interesting to see how the back 3 actually do line up, Aaron, because you alluded to it earlier on with the change of formation halfway through the game against Derby. James Bolton came on for James Wilson at half-time. The last couple of matches, Gillespie started in the middle. Lundvik started on the left last week, on Tuesday, but switched to the right in the second half and was incredibly good in that second 45. There's versatility there, which is great, but do you see it being a 3, and do you see it Gillespie on the left, Wilson in the middle, Lundvik on the right?
I think so. I mean, I'm not sure. We'll find out in half an hour or so, I guess. But I'm always a big believer in balance. So if you've got Gillespie, who's naturally left-sided, with Miller, who's naturally left-sided, and maybe with Butcher, who's naturally left-sided, in those kind of left-hand sides of the pitch, it just, for me, it brings good symmetry and it allows the ball to potentially flow better. That's not to say that players can't move, if you don't have to play on the left side if you're left-footed or vice versa, but it just offers better balance. It'll be interesting to see if they are a back 3, how Matete and Butcher get closer to the back 3, I feel, to be able to be in the eye line to receive, to play forward. Because if Barnsley press with 2 or 3, it will make it very difficult for the back 3 to get out. So I think that Matete and Butcher in particular have got a vital job to connect the receiving from the back line into the front line. Similar
actually happened on Tuesday night with Derby. Let's have a look at the Barnsley team then and see how they might shape up. They've made no changes from the side that beat Portsmouth, sticking with the tried and trusted side that's obviously doing incredibly well. You mentioned that the forward line, Cole and Norwood in the goals at the moment, backed up well. A player that I quite like. I liked him when he played here at the start of the season. Luke Connell is the one holder, but he's a very tidy footballer.
Yeah, he's a playmaker, isn't he? He's called, I like to call him the orchestrator. He's the one, the puppet master, gets it, gives it, play goes through him. So if the tempo of their game normally goes through him in particular, so if, Argyle can try and stifle his options, it might disrupt the flow of their performances as well. I mean, going in their favour in particular, having Kitching, Anderson and Thomas as a back 3 again, relationships, you get consistency. And if they're unchanged and they've won, 7 of the last 9, and this is potentially going for 5 in a row, every player is oozing confidence. They can't wait for kickoff.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. We're getting closer and closer to it. What you mentioned earlier about the way that Barnsley might try and press up against Argyle's back three, that if they were to do it, because they're not necessarily playing with wingers and a forward like Derby were on the weekend, they had the 2 wingers and a striker, it would mean that a midfielder would have to join them, presumably, whether that's Adam Phillips or Herbie Kane, whoever. And then that might mean that there is an extra spot in the midfield. Derby just plonked 3 up front.
Yeah.
And they had their setup in behind. This would mean a slight change, which could work in Argyle's favour.
It would, and I think it would be vital. It's about knowing when that added player jumps to the front line to help to support the press. So that's where whoever the nearest players are need to recognise when that trigger is executed or actioned to then become available. And then you can easily beat that press then, but it needs cohesion between the 2 units. So, let's see how they start. The pitch looks like it's fantastic. So it should promote footballing styles of play. So hopefully they can settle into the game early.
Just before we have a look at the other fixtures that are happening today, last away game, we both did the game. It was one of the most open matches I've ever seen. Peterborough got a fairly comprehensive win. I think that will probably be in Stephen Schumacher's thoughts coming into this, don't you? Another attack-minded side, another confident side won't want to be as open.
No, and I think I'd like to think Barnsley a little bit more structured and more disciplined. And we said a couple of weeks ago, I think Peterborough just went with the mindset of we'll score more goals than you, so we're going to throw 3 up top. We're not going to track, and we hope that your moves break down and we'll hit you on the counter. And that seemed to be the case as to what happened. And Argyle would have looked as a squad would have looked at that and probably been really disappointed at the calibre of the goals that they conceded and the timing of it as well. And at no point this season have they. If they've had a loss, they've not had a back-to-back defeat. So hopefully they won't showcase a similar performance, 2 weeks on.
How do you see this going then? I'm putting all of the pressure on you here.
I'd like to think Argyle need to chunk the game. They need to get to periods. If they can get 20 minutes in and not have conceded and be in the game, they'll be comfortable. The longer it goes on, the more Barnsley are going to want to try and win the game. That might promote them to come on. That's when you get your pockets that expose at the back, and then maybe you can pick them off for counter-attacks and things like that. So I'm sure Schumacher's got 3 or 4 game plans in mind, but I'm gonna go for a tight game. I think it'll be maybe the odd goal in it if a win or a loss is the outcome, but if not, a draw.
All right, I'm going to have one final look at what you guys have been coming up with in terms of results. There are, having said there's not normally draws or losses, I've just seen one that comes up as a draw. Liam goes 1-1 draw, I'd say. Interesting. Thanks for that, Liam. Another couple of 2-0 wins. 2-2 from Steve. Another Steve getting in touch. So, tight is what is the name of the game. You can see the 2 sets of players warming up. The Argyle fans, as always, have travelled in incredible numbers. Just under 1,500 of them in challenging conditions. As we all know, you can actually see a pile of snow in the corner of one of the stands down there. Pitch, though, as we've mentioned, looks absolutely incredible. Just before we hand away and go and get ready for commentary of this one, I'll run through a couple of interesting games in Sky Bet League One. They are, if you think Barnsley is a big game, listen to some of these as well. Bolton against Ipswich. Bolton probably just about out of the race for automatics. Ipswich not, but it's getting tight with the playoff positions. Derby will want to bounce back from their defeat at Home Park. And they're at Oxford, who've got a new manager in charge there, and will be soon. And Sheffield Wednesday at Portsmouth. So 3 interesting games for us to keep an eye on and keep you up to date with throughout the afternoon here on Argyle TV. But that is us done for the build-up. Hope you've enjoyed it. You can follow all of the action here on Argyle TV. If you're an overseas supporter, then you can watch the game for £10 if you're based in the UK, £2.50 for an audio stream pass. All of the details are on our website, pafc.co.uk. Just click on the Argyle TV tab at the top for all of the options. But we are done, and we will be getting ready for commentary on what is going to be a huge game of football up at Oakwell, and that is coming up next.
Into Hardy! On the edge of the area, gets it onto his left foot, Mumba!